In a matter of hours this morning, captured Venezuelan President Nicolás Maduro and his wife are expected to appear inside of a U.S. courtroom.
Not surprisingly, China's foreign ministry is calling for the couple's immediate release. Maduro and his wife were captured in a U.S. military operation Saturday and are expected to be arraigned today on federal charges related to drug trafficking and working with gangs designated as terrorist organizations. President Trump said Saturday the U.S. will run Venezuela during the transition period, a move causing concern among some U.S. lawmakers, asking why Congress was not consulted prior to that military operation. We have live team coverage this morning on the arraignment and reaction to Maduro's capture.
Yes, we start now with Ugochi Iloka and the reactions here in Houston. Ugochi, we know we have a pretty large Venezuelan population here. What responses are you hearing?
Alona and Jacob, we are hearing from people in the Houston area on both sides of this issue. Now, one thing they all have in common is they have really expressed very passionate views on this very split matter. I want you to take a look at your screen here. This is video of when demonstrations were happening over the weekend. KHOU11 really covered all of them when the news first broke. Our crews checked out a rally where a majority of the crowd was against captured Venezuela President Nicolás Maduro. Then we checked in with a community known as Katy Suela in an area in Katy that has one of the largest Venezuelan populations in the country, where many cheered and shared really lots of tears of relief there. Some say with Maduro currently in custody, there's a new sense of hope for Venezuela, but that also comes with the fear of uncertainty.
A lot of people that are really hopeful, but they're also really scared to share that hope in the streets.
We feel that if Trump has the power to just kidnap a head of state and bring him back to a foreign country, what does that mean for the rest of us?
I feel really strongly about how there should be no more U.S. interference in Venezuela.
Yeah, and I just want to clarify that protest that happened in the Galleria area, many of the protesters at the time were against the actual capture of Maduro. Now, coming up in the next hour, we will hear from more people when it comes to both sides of this issue in reference to the U.S. arresting Maduro on several charges, including narco-terrorism conspiracy. Reporting live this morning, Ugochi Iloka, KHOU 11 News.
Ugochi, thank you again. Seeing those different opinions and those reactions were mirrored in communities across the country and really worldwide.
And as we mentioned earlier, Nicolás Maduro is expected to appear in a New York City courtroom later on this morning. CBS News correspondent Bradley Blackburn joins us now live from New York ahead of the appearance. Okay, Bradley, what are we expecting from court today?
Well, Jacob Alona, we expect Maduro and his wife will be brought to this courthouse in just a few hours. Right now, they are being held at a detention facility that has held Ghislaine Maxwell and Luigi Mangione. This is a stunning turn just 2 days after U.S. forces swooped in.
In South Florida, there were celebrations over the weekend as Venezuelans who fled their country learned of the toppling of the Maduro regime.
It's just a feeling, I can't explain it. We make a life here because we had to, not because we wanted to. So we really want to go back.
Some 8 million Venezuelans, more than a quarter of the country's population, left their homeland in the last decade after economic collapse under a repressive government.
I think we deserve having freedom.
But elsewhere, there was anger.
Not another endless war.
Protests in many places, from Texas to New York and North Carolina.
So outrageous seeing that our tax dollars are being used for this outrageous act of bombing another country and a sovereign nation.
At the Vatican, Pope Leo, addressing a crowd of followers in Italian, criticized the U.S. intervention. Meanwhile, there were ripple effects at airports nationwide after airspace was closed during the U.S. operation. The FAA closed the skies over much of the Caribbean Saturday, stranding many travelers trying to get home from the holidays, including CBS Philadelphia photojournalist Nate Silvas.
We had a flight on Frontier, that was canceled. Then we had a flight on United, that was canceled. So then we were scrambling to try to get another flight.
Some travelers were told it could take days to get rebooked, but airlines are now adding service and using larger planes to try to catch up. Altogether, more than 1,100 flights were canceled due to the military action in Venezuela.
Okay, Bradley, what kind of response are we seeing from the leaders of other nations to these arrests?
Well, Jacob, it's been mixed. There has been reaction from China, which is one of the largest customers for Venezuelan oil. They are condemning the use of force against a sovereign state. But there's been a different reaction in Europe. The UK's Prime Minister Keir Starmer has said that his country is not going to shed a tear over the end of the Maduro regime. So countries all over the world are really wrestling with this U.S. action, as many, even in the U.S., question its legality. And Jacob and Alona, President Trump yesterday suggested that the U.S. might try to take over Greenland. He asserted that again, and he also threatened potential action against Cuba and Colombia.
Okay, all eyes really from around the world on that courtroom today. Bradley Blackburn, we appreciate the update this morning live in New York. Thank you. Now, amid the Trump administration's pressure on Venezuela's oil industry over the past few weeks, including the seizure of those sanctioned oil tankers off the coast of Venezuela, the pressure for the oil markets is building.
Yeah, just last month, the U.S. authorities seized 2 in the Caribbean and chased a third. Now with Maduro in custody, KHU11's Tracyn Bagg spoke with energy expert Ed Hers about what this could mean for the U.S. oil markets and, of course, our wallets.
Well, the short answer is no. Venezuela is much less of the exporter. It used to export up to 2 million barrels a day. Now it's down about 500,000 barrels a day. Most of that oil was destined either for Cuba or for China. China's been supporting the Venezuelan oil patch for the last, through the Chavez and Maduro regimes. It's not going to have an impact in the global market.
We'll hear more from Ed Hers about the impact on oil coming up in our extended morning newscast on KHOU 11 Plus at 7:15.